Welcome to Life Outside the Box, where we showcase people and how they cope, survive, and thrive, despite the various health and life challenges that have impacted them. My hope is that Life Outside the Box can show you, with real-life examples, that people are thriving in sometimes less than conventional ways. Today's guest is Kim. She has a very encouraging and hopeful story to tell us all. Kim's ability to recognize and have the humility in being able to accept her struggles with alcohol, grief, and mental health is so encouraging. Kim is so sweet. Welcome, Kim, to Life Outside the Box. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Kim. Kim, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Kim. I'm 42 years old. I've been born and raised in Chilliwack, lived here all my life. I have 3 teenagers at home who I love so much, and I have a big family. I like to enjoy everything Chilliwack has to offer, from the outdoors to, any activities that we have going on. And I just enjoyed having the summer off, so I'm getting ready to go back to work soon.
Awesome. Well, why don't we just dive right in and talk about the reason why you're here?
Sure. I found out you were doing this show and people were sharing their experiences and, some of the struggles they've had in their life. And I felt that maybe I had a message to bring. So
yeah, I know you definitely do. So when you first started with your life journey, we've obviously, you were born.
Yeah.
Let's not get into that. But when we, thinking about, where this all started.
Okay, so, from a young age, I remember having struggles, feeling different and stuff. I was raised in the church, and my mom was raised like that too, but my dad wasn't. So he basically agreed to start going to church so he could marry my mom. Years down the road, he stopped going, and it kind of left a funny feeling with just going there with my mom and not my dad, So I think that we kind of stopped going. My childhood years were great. I do remember struggling with things. Like about 8 years old, I was stealing, and I always felt different. I kind of had this want to be defiant. And 12 years old, I started smoking cigarettes and trying alcohol, and then 13, 14, alcohol got introduced into my life, and it had a really bad start. It made me very sick, and I couldn't handle it at all. People joke about being cheap drunks, and it's just so funny, but since then I found out I am allergic to it, so that's why my body reacted different. Drugs came into my life in my teenage years, and it was a really slippery slope for me. I didn't really do anything on time. I didn't have my learners on, or my license on time, and I didn't graduate, and it was like a wave effect, up and down always, right? I always was able to kind of pull myself out, but definitely struggled. I had my first child when I was 24, and I remember finally when I realized I was pregnant, I was like, I don't have to drink or do drugs anymore. I always had tried to pull off a normal life, working full time and stuff, but I definitely had troubles with that too, not showing up to my work, and if I was hungover or had something better to do, but so, I had my first child, and I struggled after he was kind of weaned from needing me so much, nursing and everything. And I started drinking and doing drugs again, and found myself in some scary situations. I tried so hard to have a normal life. I got married. I had 2 more children. I bought a house, did all the things. And when my youngest was 6 months old, my dad passed away. So that was really hard. I had dealt with postpartum after my first son, and with my younger two, they're 18 months apart. So it was like I didn't really have time to even think, just like pushing, just going along.
And did you have postpartum with the first or the second or both?
I had him with my first, definitely. With my second, I felt like my life was a little bit better, my daughter. And then right away, my younger two are 18 months apart. So I basically was pregnant right away, and I couldn't bring alcohol back into my life, So then, fast forward to when my youngest was 6 months old, my dad passed away. I started using alcohol to deal with my grief and still trying to be a mom and still trying to work and be a wife and, run a house. And it was hard. It was a downward slope, right?
Grief is not easy to get through.
No, it's not.
No. It's like I've heard this one, actually someone just recently told me something about grief and how many years to get through the hardest parts is however long you've known the person, and it's that many months, then it'll start to subside. So going through all that grief and coping the way you were, that must have been really challenging. Yeah,
not like there are so many things out there, but I didn't reach out for them. I didn't, I didn't know, and I didn't ask for help, and obviously the alcohol didn't help, right? And so then my marriage had ended, and I moved. I bought a house, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a new start for me. I'm not going to drink and do drugs, but it found its way back in my life. And I was at a point where I was feeling really depressed and suicidal. I was starting to get. I was using alcohol and drugs every day, and it was very, very hard.
So that was the way you were coping with those feelings.
Yeah, it was. My belief is that somebody was put into my life who had offered me this woman's step group, and I had in 2018, I took a certificate that opened my eyes to like mental health and understanding behavior. And I was kind of like, I was ready to learn. When I was in high school, I was never willing to learn what they were trying to teach us. But so from my own will, I was like, okay, what's this woman's step group about? And she had asked me, she's like, well, do you have a problem with alcohol? And I was like, no, I have a lot of problems, but alcohol is not it, right? And so I thought about it, and I just ended up going back and saying I do have a problem with alcohol, and so I joined the step group. Part of it was having to become willing to accept that there is a power greater than myself. And at first, now I realize it, like I had totally turned my back on faith, on what I thought of a God, because of, I don't know if it was things in my past, or I was raised in the Christian school, and if I had resentments against them. So that was hard for me. But I remember walking. I was taking my dog for a walk, and I had thought, like, there's a reason you're still alive, Kim. I had been in car accidents, and I had way too many crazy nights in my life, and the fact that
to be here.
The fact that I'm still here, it wasn't on my will, right? So I was willing to accept that, and from there it was a 12-week program, and once I had finished, I was like still sober, hadn't drank, and that was probably the longest time I had stayed sober since my last pregnancy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about some of that details,
For sure.
About steps and everything. We'll do that right after the break. Welcome back, everybody. Now, Kim, we just left off with just talking a little bit about some steps. I just want to kind of see, like, what kind of steps were the most impactful for you?
Yeah, well, they all are. They all coincide with each other, right? Like, you have to practice them all. I wanted to clarify before, I had said that I knew that I didn't deal well with alcohol and stuff, and when I came to this point of joining the step group, and I was like, I had said, I have a lot of problems and it's not alcohol. I knew it was, but I wasn't ready to admit it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, so these steps. The first one, like, do I have a problem with alcohol? And I was ready to admit that because my life was pretty unmanageable. I had gotten a higher power in my life, and then the pen work came about, where pen to paper, they said.
Oh, pen to paper.
And so I did a lot of healing through that, in my journey of, that I had before. I had hurt a lot of people in my life, not meaning to, but I had,
No
and
intentions.
yeah, and so I had to right those wrongs, and I also had to look at things that I did, from way back, and write about them and share them, and then I have to practice. I have a daily practice that I do, that I wake up, I say my prayers. I thank God for my sobriety. I thank him for my ability to work and to listen, learn, heal, and grow is a big thing for me. I hand my will over, because I know that my higher power's will for me is, it was better than I had for myself in the beginning. 3.5 years I haven't drank. So it's starting to kind of become routine, but I had to practice that every day, and I've even had times where I was super sick, and then my son, my oldest, is 19, so with teenagers, stressed you out sometimes.
Yes.
And so I was stressed out with him, and I wasn't doing my morning routine, and I felt my life getting unmanageable just because I wasn't practicing this program that I've been taught.
Moments.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now when you're saying you're practicing every day, doing these rituals, at what point did you feel like, this is something that I want to completely continue for the rest of my life? Or is there something that, you would like to do that helps you grow the most through these steps?
I'm always willing to continue learning and stuff. This is something that I want to do for the rest of my life, because in these last 3 years, my life has been the best ever.
So good.
I travel now, and I traveled before too. Traveling was never an issue, but I would, find myself in trouble or getting in trouble or being intoxicated. And so now I can travel with just the pure intent to go and show my kids different areas and to spend family time, right? I don't have to have alcohol weighing over me. So because my life is so good right now and I love it, I know that I have to keep practicing it, right? It's a practice. It's an ongoing practice for me.
For sure.
And it keeps me close to my higher power.
Amazing. So now you get to be more present in the moment and enjoy life's gifts that we have, right?
Definitely.
Because it is a gift.
Yeah. And present is a huge thing. I had said, I always found myself to be a very loving and patient mom, but I wasn't present. So I couldn't really follow through with the things that I would talk to my children about. Okay. Whereas now I am more aware of the situations that are going on and how I can guide them and how I can deal with it. And sometimes when I don't know what to do, I just pray, dear God, please help me.
Yeah,
and one thing that's really nice is you don't have to classify what your higher power is. Being raised in the church, right away I was like, oh, the Bible and all this, and I don't need to classify it to a certain religion or to something exact. The fact that I'm willing to believe that there's a higher power. Sometimes I will kneel at the end of my bed at the end of the night just to say thank you. Sometimes I've asked for help. I've also, on my walks, I've touched trees, Mother Nature. I really connect with the Creator, this earth, it's a huge thing. So it's really nice that all these things that were given to me were suggested. People didn't say, you have to do this, because I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, because, the natural thing for people to do is defiance anyways. So you have to do it this way. I don't want to do it this way. I want to do it my way. My way, yeah. And it's cool that they give you the opportunity and they give you the tools and you get to use them or not, right?
Yeah, and one thing that just
cool.
came to my mind, I asked if I can be of service in any way that I can, to people who are struggling, or, my phone is always open. I volunteer now in the community, and that's always
So
fun.
good.
Today I was helping hand out starfish packs.
Okay.
I was talking to you about
Yeah, you
this.
were. Yeah, I love that.
It's amazing. I don't know if we can throw out organizations, but I was volunteering for this organization that provide kids with lunches during the school year, and they just started throughout the summer.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And program just started.
I'm not
is they've
exactly
always had it in
sure.
the
I'm not
past,
exactly sure, but because of my work, I've become more aware of it.
Oh, so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you give back to the community, and you're able to do the volunteer work.
Yeah.
And that's so good.
It's rewarding.
It is. Yeah. Amazing. Now, we're talking about you traveling and going places and doing all these things. Where have you been the last time?
This summer, we do a yearly travel to Soyuz.
Nice.
So I went with Soyuz. There's 39 members of my family, and we're just able to, me and my cousins and I, we were able to watch our kids play and, just connect as a family. I took my youngest two to Montreal.
That's so fun.
And one thing I noticed, the struggles with alcohol have pretty much, and craving it has pretty much been removed. But I have other struggles. I have fears, So as a single mom by myself, I'm traveling with my kids. Also, I have these fears, these fears that something will happen to me while we're there, that something will happen to my kids. I haven't mentioned, but I wouldn't say that. Yeah, actually, I struggle with mental health, with these things like fears. There's little things of depression that still pop up, and I just started seeing a counselor. Amazing. So trying to, better myself with that, just figure out certain things about myself.
So good.
Yeah, so I had been to Montreal. I've been to, since I've been sober, I've been to Vegas. Sober. I spent a lot of time in the spa. I went to Newfoundland, which is, a good party place in which I was able to partake in all the parties just without the alcohol.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So much growth since, everything. You said 3 years. It's been, that's so amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's so good. Now, if you were to say there's something specifically that really speaks to you that you would really like to share with everybody, that's something that there's going to be people out there that have friends or family that have had some waves of life as well in a similar situation as yours. What would you like to kind of give them as far as?
There's more help out there than we know, then that's always if we seek it, you can find it. There's helps, there's programs for alcohol, there's programs for narcotics and drugs, there's programs for families who have been raised with alcoholic parents, there's free counseling that's offered through, I don't know the exact organization, but the community center. There's things that you can look up online. Google is my best friend.
Yeah.
And even the meaning of words. This is a new language that I've learned, right? So through my journey, there was different words like humility, and resentments. I had to always Google them. I had to look them up, right? Yeah. So there's something that you're struggling with. I'm pretty sure you could Google it or ask people, reach out and ask for help. Yeah. Raising teenagers is not easy. No. And I used to hate that saying, what was the community, now I can't remember it because I'm feeling on the spot, but it takes a village. It takes a village.
It does, yeah.
It used to drive me crazy. What do you mean it takes a village? I'm the one who pays my bills. I'm the one who has these kids, but it does take a village, having good communication with my kids' teachers, having good communication with my bosses, having good communication with my mom, with people in the community. It's allowed me to to keep bettering myself and growing.
And to rest in that knowing that you do have that support, right? You have, people around you and opportunities to be able to reach out to that you know, you can just rest in certain areas, and maybe that takes a little bit of like that angst away too, right?
Yeah, asking for help definitely, but like what takes my angst and like resting and just being able to let things kind of flow and with my fears is having a faith. Is passing my will over and my prayers. And like I had said, like, you know, I don't know who I'm praying to sometimes, and that's okay. I'm not hard on myself.
No, yeah. That's so good.
Another big thing for me I wanted to add was forgiving myself. Wow. You know, I've actually stood in certain spots in the community where I remember, you know, things happening that I'm not proud of, and I just had to say, Kim, forgive yourself. You know, you didn't know the things you know now, and you're not the person, you know, like, so.
Yeah, grace is a huge thing, right? Grace for yourself, grace for others is super impactful. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. This is amazing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after the break. Welcome back. I am so impressed on how Kim's growth as an individual through her experiences and struggles have been a roller coaster journey. I'm amazed that someone she reconnected with had the courage to ask her if she had a problem with alcohol. Although it was hard for her to admit, she eventually came to terms with the fact that her life had become unmanageable and that coping with her vice of choice was not moving her in the direction that she hoped for. What I learned through this part of her story is that sometimes those hard conversations with people we care about, as difficult as it is to be completely honest and challenge their way of thinking, sometimes it's just what they needed to spark their little fire they actually desire of their truth to have in their life. It's so amazing how Kim was so open to hearing her out, took that conversation and ran with it, joining step groups, taking part in a community service, finding her tribe and support groups, family and friends, and eventually seeking out counseling. All of this would not have been possible if she didn't hold on to her faith and love for her family. What a humbling experience she had, now being able to move steps forward in the life that she always wanted, such as getting to travel with her loved ones, being more present every day as she enjoys the fruits of her hard work in acceptance, faith, and grace for herself and others. I feel this is a pretty cool example by just simply taking one step at a time, opening those doors that are in front of you if you just seek it out. Now, Kim is finding her way every day. I am so inspired by her story, strength, and her faith, acceptance, courage, grace, and hope. If anyone you know has a relatable situation with drugs and alcohol, mental health, anxiety, or depression, please share this video with them. Thank you, Kim, for sharing your life journey with us, and thank you for watching Life Outside the Box. Till next time.